the Department of Education, Division of Tangub City, in partnership with the local government unit of Tangub, presents Ang Tangkub, Transforming Advancement in the New Normal, guiding K-12 learners under broadcast media and instructional program crafted in response to the need of making education possible and accessible to students at the comfort of their homes. It covers the most essential competencies, thematically layered in drama plays which were originally written, directed, and performed by teachers to see to it that education is securely provided. This is Ang Tangkub.
Sa mga aral sa mundo, tayo na. Tumutok na sa TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkub, tangkub, tangkub time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkub, tangkub, tangkub time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na.
Mag-observe o mag-discover ta, living things o non-living things, mga stars o mga planeta. Dali na mag-science na kita, mag-observe o mag-discover ta, living things o non-living things, mga stars o mga planeta, mga stars o mga planeta, mga stars o mga planeta.
Good morning to our dear senior high school learners who are watching via our FB Live at Depetay Tanggub and Astral Academy.
Yes, but before we start, let me introduce first myself. I am your teacher R from Lorenzo National High School.
And I am Teacher May from Maloro Integrated School.
And we are your teachers facilitators for today.
So good morning, Sir R.
Hi ma'am, maayong buntag
Yes,
kanimo.
maulanong buntag ka na tong tanan.
Yes ma'am.
Alright, so today is Tuesday, December 14, 2021. And today, we will be discussing topics about Earth and Life Science and Philippine politics. So let's see our topics for today. For Earth and Life Science, we have biotic potential and environmental resistance.
And for the Philippine politics, we have election and political parties. So, ma'am, teacher May, no? With that, stay tuned learners because we are going to discuss our first subject for today, and that is the Earth and Life Science after a short break.
This is
Astral Academy Cyber School. And we are back. Now, Teacher May, let us talk about Earth and Life and Science. And for our learning competency this morning, Teacher May, no, categorize the different biotic potential and environmental resistance. Example, disease, availability of food, predators that affect population explosion.
Yes, Teacher R. So for today's lesson, we will discuss the concepts of biotic potential and environmental resistance. So it will also give us the concepts on how interaction of different organisms, such as humans, affect its environment and vice versa. It will further categorize the different types of biotic potential and environmental resistance in terms of diseases, availability of food, and predators.
Yes.
So for that, let's define what is biotic potential.
Yes, when we speak about biotic potential, teacher me, it is the ability of a population to increase its number under an ideal environment, and also it is the ability of how will species is able to survive.
Yes, so the ability of species of an organism to survive,
Yes.
and with that they are able to reproduce. So
Yes.
to increase its number under an ideal environment. So the species of organisms are able to reproduce in order to survive and not to become extinct.
Yes, you're right, teacher
All
me.
right. So when we say environmental resistance, these are the factors that limit the growth of a population. So this includes biotic factors like predators, diseases, competition, and lack of food, as well as abiotic factors like fire, flood, and drought. So these biotic and abiotic factors affect the rate of reproduction of a particular species of organisms, thereby resulting in the decrease in the number of populations of a particular species of organisms in an ecosystem.
Yes.
So for example, Sir R, when we say abiotic, so like for example, there's a fire. So in a wild forest, so if there's a forest fire, so certain species of organisms living in that area would be affected.
Of course.
Yes,
Definitely kay nagsunog man
Yes,
dito, ma'am.
nasunog. So dili maka-escape or dili maka-survive ang uban. So that would give them nga ma-decrease ang ilang number
Numbers,
of
of course,
population.
no?
So that's what you call environmental resistance.
Yes,
Na-
especially katong mga hayop o na mga kinabuhi nga hayop nga hinay mo baklay.
Yes, so naay duha ka factors biotic. When we say biotic, these are predators. Like big animals
Yes,
would
ma'am.
eat small
Yes.
animals. And also diseases. Like
Magdaot sila.
widespread. Yes, like samaan ng American swine fever.
Yes.
Like on pigs. So maka-decrease po na siya sa number of populations
Yes,
sa species
definitely.
of pig. Yes. When we say about lack of food and competition, in a certain area, sir, na limited lang ang resources.
Yes.
So kamong mga organisms o species of organisms dira mag-compete mo with each other. Like for
Yes.
example, kita within this room,
Yes.
dayon
For them to survive, of
yes,
course.
they will definitely compete with each other. Like for example, we were isolate in a room and we are only given a limited food supply
Correct.
and with all the other necessities. So ikaw para mo survive ka kinahanglan ka mo compete with
Yes.
other
The
people.
competition will arise.
Yes, so makikompete ko nimo Sir R para
Yes.
mo-survive ko. So that's what you call the biotic factors in the environmental resistance.
You're right, teacher
So
May.
the combination of biotic and abiotic factors determines the carrying capacity of an ecosystem. So when we say carrying capacity, it is the optimal maximum density of a population can be supported by a defined space.
Yes.
So for example, so in a farm, so naay group of cows, Sir R. So by that farm or area, nara siya specific number of cows nga iyang ma-contain. Kay if more than na sa amount nga number of cows, definitely that species of cows would compete with each other.
Yes.
So
Ang
kung
usahay po ana, ma'am, nga mahitabo is tungod sa kadaghan magguot.
yes, magguot.
Magguot then mag-away.
Mag-away jud and then they would compete with each other. Sama na gunang magtanom pod ka Sir R nga.
Yes.
Kanang ang nutrients sa yuta mag-compete pod ang mga tanom
Like kamote crops na kalang kamote mama kung daghanon kay nimo
Yes,
pungpong ang pagtanom
Oo.
di siya mamunga kay
Yes.
nangiyawat ka unta kay para daghan
Daghang ka maani.
daghan ka maani.
Pero ang plants itself nag-compete sila sa
Yes.
nutrients sa yuta at the same time sa abono nga imong
Yes.
iabono.
So,
So naa sila competition.
Yes, having that example, ma'am, that could defined as the carrying capacity.
Yeah, so the carrying capacity, the amount of individuals that a certain area
Yes.
can hold.
Kung mo survive man gani, it might be naapoy malnutrition nga mahitabo,
Yes, so-
dili kay mo dagko,
Yes,
no?
ang imuhang tanom is kanang gagmay.
Correct.
Yeah, so the rate of population growth is dependent on biotic potential and environmental resistance.
Yes. Moreover, the rate of population growth is dependent on the so-called biotic potential, and environmental resistance. So again, these biotic and abiotic factors affect the rate of reproduction of a particular species of organisms, thereby resulting in the decrease in the number of populations of a particular species of organisms in a certain ecosystem. So, teacher May, ecologists are trying to distinguish between the basic ecology and the application of ecology to understand the human interaction with the environment. However, this is a difficult given that the human population has exceeded the 6.5 billion mark. So furthermore, this population continues to have a great impact on our resources that leads to the pollution. Then, such increasing pressure on the environments are now beginning to affect the Earth's climate, and that would have a negative impact on the so-called human populations in the long run.
Yes, definitely. So the human population is still growing.
Yes.
So it states there that we already exceeded the 6.5 billion mark, and it's still increasing. So what would probably happen? So if time will come, no, let's imagine if magkadaghan pa jud ang population sa tao, no, so there would be a competition or scarcity of resources.
Yes, because we can suffer shortage then. No?
Yes, shortage of supply that we
yes.
need.
And of course, those katong mga gipantawag na itong mga likas nga yaman nga mao na itong gipanguhaan ng resources.
Yes,
no?
so makabantay karon Sir Arno nga ang mga forest areas kay gi-transform na into industrialized
Yes.
area. So imagine if that would continue and the increasing population of human also would increase. So, una na kay mahitabo na to
Yes.
in the near future.
So maparehata sa atong giingon gani-ganina ma'am sa ibabang bahay no nga there will be competition.
Yes, nana jud competition. So, iya na jud ang pamaagya na,
Yes,
sir.
for us to survive, no?
Yes,
so
so
mahitabo ngayon ana.
yeah, so the current pandemic is an example of the impact of human interaction with a disease
Yes.
that migrates from a different animal source into humans, which we refer to as zoonotic disease. The coronavirus that is innate to bat species had seemed to mutate and became virulent to human beings. So the impact of deforestation and wildlife hunting led to the increasing contact between humans and wildlife and potential for disease transmission. So like what we are facing right now.
Yes.
We are still under the pandemic.
Mm-mm.
So the scientists studied that this virus currently started from bat species, but because of wildlife hunting, 'di ba? Ginakuha na ay other group of people that would eat wildlife animals.
That's
so
why
dira
na-transmit.
na-transmit ang virus and then nag-mutate, and that would cause us the
Yes.
pandemic that we're facing right now. So as such, one cannot avoid linking human impact in the study of ecology, as humans are key players in reshaping the current state of the environment. Many of the ecosystems discussed are all prone to the destructive capabilities of human abuse and neglect, which have caused alterations and imbalance to the natural ecosystem processes that occur in these places. So anthropogenic activities like illegal logging, deforestation, illegal mining, illegal fishing, kaingin system, and improper waste management will lead to destruction and damage of habitat of organisms, which will eventually result to migration of species of organisms to other places and eventually extinction of species. With the increasing population growth and continuous abusive use of natural resources, there is a possibility that there will be a scarcity of natural resources which will eventually be depleted. So it's very true.
Yes, correct.
So as you can see, sir, no, like the bodies of water in
Yes.
our planet is being contaminated with
Yes.
garbages that we humans are the reasons why we have polluted ocean.
Yes.
And we can see that naay daghang fish kills nga
Yes, I
nagtabo.
agree with you on that,
Na-
Teacher May.
Yes, and also naapoy mga oil leakage or oil spill.
Yes.
So that's one of the factors that could integrate the extinction of
Yes.
different species of organisms. So if we continue that practice, no, nga kita ra man pod humans ang nagbuhat.
Yes.
So time will come that there will be scarcity of
Yes.
natural resources and other necessities that we need. So kita ra po'y magbasol.
Yes, and eventually it will depleted.
Yes, depleted. So mo na siya kahadlukan dun, no?
Correct.
So, learners on your SLMs, you can see their table that summarizes the major type of environmental resistance and its source and effects. So, some of these are human activities that will also result to air, water, and soil pollution. So, humans must therefore be conscious of the role they play as
Yes.
stewards of the natural resources for their very existence and survival. So
Yes.
that's a very good reminder, no, that we are the stewards, so we should take care of our natural resources.
Yes.
So we have the types of environmental resistance, the definition, and you can see there on your SLMs the picture.
Yes.
So when it comes to diseases, the most common form of environmental resistance wherein pathogens infect organisms that would potentially limit population growth. So like what we have in the COVID-19.
Yes.
So it would limit the population growth kay daghan na kay nangamatay because of that spread of disease. Next, we have the availability of food, a form of competition of different organism for a finite resource. Like for example, food and other nutrients. Sama
Yes.
sa tong example ganina,
Yes,
sir,
oo.
na ay competition when it comes to food of different animals.
In
When it
layman's
comes-
term, nag-ilugay na sila sa
Yes.
pagkaon.
Dili lang ang animals, maski pod ang atong source of food sa
Yes.
mga plants. Napod sila competition when it comes to nutrients and other necessities to be able to grow and develop.
Correct.
Next, we have predators, a biotic factor that ensures survival of the fittest in a prey-predator relationship. So when it comes to food chain, ang atong source is the plant. And then, it will be eaten by the first primary consumer, secondary consumer,
Consumer.
and then the tertiary consumer.
Yes.
So there's a predator that happens. So the big animals would eat small animals, and that is predator.
Yes.
And learners, we're done. So can you look at your SLMs?
Yes.
So for your activity 1, list and categorize. What you're going to do is that you provide 3 examples of environmental resistance and categorize them into diseases, availability of food, and predators. So
Yes.
diseases like, for
They
example, the
will
COVID-19.
simply refer to the table that has been
Yes.
prepared under SLM.
Yeah, so that's their guide.
Yes.
And for activity 2, they're going to explore their ecosystem. So there are procedures listed on your SLMs. What you're going to do is you're going to follow that procedures and write your observation on the space provided on the right corner.
All right, Teacher May, we are done with our discussion in the earth and life and science.
Yes.
And of course, Teacher May, more discussions when we return. This is
Astral
Astral
Academy
Academy
Cyber
Cyber
School.
School.
Gali na mag-science na kita, mag-observe o mag-discover ta. Living things o non-living things, mga stars o mga planeta.
And we are back, still here in
Astral Academy Cyber School.
To continue our discussion, we are now down to our second subject, that is the Philippine politics and governance. And for the learning competency, we have analyzed the nature of elections and political parties in the Philippines.
Yeah, so last time, Teacher May, we discussed about the nature of the election. Of course, we talk more on the suffrage, no? And we learn about the scope of suffrage, the nature of the suffrage, and the characteristic of suffrage. And
Yes.
now to continue with our discussion in analyzing, no, the the election and the political party of the Philippines. So when we speak about political party, Teacher May, it is simply defined that it is an organized and presumably durable association either of individuals or of distinguishable groups of individual which endeavors to place its member in a governmental offices for the purpose of bringing about the adoption of favored political policies or program. Of all the characteristics of a partist, the one which distinguishes them for all other association evincing a substantial interest in public affairs is their effort to secure the election or the appointment of their own personnel and to the public position through which the policies of the government are prescribed for the implementation. Now, sa madaling sabi, Teacher May, ito yung mga grupo ng mga tao na may paniwalang sarili at ang paniniwalang ito ay pinanghahawakan ng bawat miyembro. At ang kanilang mga paniniwala ay sinusunod at gumagawa ng mga polisiya para sa ikabubuti ng mamamayan. So there are characteristics of a political party, Teacher May.
Okay, so one of the primary characteristics of a political party is its objective to control the exercise of governmental powers by placing its own members in the public offices through which the policies of government are determined.
Yes, you're right, Teacher. Having said with the primary characteristics of a political party, you need to indulge. If you are a politician, you need to indulge yourself in the political party. Of course, pag ang inyuhang political party daghan og membro but pasabot daghan ang suporta.
Yes.
The moment nga daghan ang suporta, of course there will be fund, no? Right after that. So if you are the ruling party of a certain nation or a certain country, of course naani mo ang administrasyon. So therefore it is very easy for you to control, and kung ikaw ang naa sa ruling party, of course you will be ikaw tong magdala sa kung kinsa tong mga tao nga imong pasudlon. Of course, advantage na in the second characteristic, please, will you please read, Teacher May?
Okay, so the second characteristic of a political party is its intention to use governmental powers for purposes which meet with the general approval of its leaders and the rank and file of its membership.
Yes, why is it that if a certain politician or a certain political party gives significance into a governmental powers? Kinahanglan kayo, it's just because the very purpose of that is kung ikaw ang ruling party, of course, ikaw may mag-designate kung kinsa imo ang himuong mga cabinet members. So, it is very easy for you to implement programs, no? Implement projects in which para sa kinatibok ang kaayuhan sa tanan nga imuhang mga gipang serbisyuan. So, that is very important. That is the second characteristics of being a political party. And there are also types of electoral system.
So
Teacher
one
May.
of that is one-party system. It is an open system of the one-party variety exists in those jurisdictions in which a particular party is so much stronger than any of its nominal competitors that is almost invariably is successful in winning control of the government.
Yes, and one of the example of the state exercising the type of electoral system, one-party system, is the North Korea. So having said of the country North Korea, ang ilaha dito usar jud kabuk ilahang party system. Gitawag na dito, Teacher May, og Democratic People's Republic of Korea. So maora gyud na magdomina sa ilahang country nga party system, Teacher May. And also we have in the China also the
Yes.
so-called Communist Party of China. So isa ra gyapon ang ilahang party system. So kung naa magiuban nga mga party system, di gyud na ma-exist,
Yes.
no? So maorag ang ruling sa ila usa ra gyud ka party.
So one-party
Yes.
system. Second, we have the bi- or two-party system. The earmark of a two-party system is the existence of two major parties which are so strongly supported that one or the other ordinarily emerges as the vector in elections and consequently gains mastery of the government. Although one of these parties may win a series of victories, its chief competitors always is the running, and the sooner or later manages to defeat its opponent.
Yes, so bi or two-party system, from the word itself,
Two.
two-party system. So one of the example of this country is the United States of America. So kung makadungog ka, Teacher May, naara ginaduha dito ka party system, kanang gitawag na itong Republican
Republicans,
and the Democrats.
Democrats.
So katong mga aspirant nga mahimo nga mga leaders sa ilaha, dira ra gud pwede nga mosulod nga party system. So kung ako nakalimot, bro, ang tawag sa ilahang election is Electoral College, no? So pinagbubuo yan ng mga representatives, and dito na din mo pili sa membro ba ka sa Republican or sa Democrats.
Yes. So the third, we have multi-party system. So multi-party systems are featured by the presence of a fairly large number of parties which compete with one another on relatively equal terms. Several parties may be considerably in comparison with their minor competitors, but they lack the strength of the major parties under a genuine two-party system. None of them is regularly able to muster sufficient voting strength to capture control of government.
Yes, from the world itself, again, from the world
Multi.
itself, multi-daghan.
Yes.
So lahi ganina sa one-party system o
Opo.
sabay. Kani, very familiar to us because ang ato ang political framework sa Philippines is a multi-party system. So kung ato ang namatikdan, no, daghan kaayo nga mga
Parties.
ruling parties. So dili magpermanente, dili pareha sa United States nga
Yeah, two.
Republican o Democrats sa gyud.
Yes.
Dili pareha sa China nga
One.
usa ra gyud dito. Dili sa tuwa lahi kada administrasyon ato miagi magsugod ta ni liberal.
Yes.
No, din imbalhin na tag PDP.
PDP.
Oh. So karon na pod daghan na pod kay nga mga party nga kuan. So one of the example of the multi-party system exercised by a certain country is in the Philippines, no?
Yes.
So again, since we are talking with the Philippines, no, there are several political parties that stand for the election in the country. So namely, the Nationalista Party, the Liberal Party, the Lakas CMD, the PDP Laban, the Nationalist People's Coalition, the Laban Demokratikong Pilipino, the Akbayan, the Philippine Democratic Socialist Party are the parties with largest membership in Congress.
Yes, so multi jud sir.
Yes, so kung kinsa to makadaog nga presidential nga kanang candidate,
Yes.
no, kung siya gikan nga party, so that would be the ruling party.
Yes.
No, say for instance kung naa sa makadaog nasa Nationalista Party, so of course ang dominant nga partido will be, or the ruling party will be the Nationalista Party niya. Ang uban ana nga mga politicians is moadto gid sila sa majority kay para
Yes.
ang ato ang kuan proyekto maabot
Approve.
yun sa ilahang kuan, no?
Yes.
So again, Teacher May, political parties are required to register with the COMELEC with a verified petition with the attachment including a constitution, bylaws, platform, and such other information as may be required by the COMELEC. So naad ay requirements, no? So again, mag-create sila ilahang constitution and bylaws, no? Kay pareha atong like presidential election Sara Duterte, no? A vice presidential candidate, no, nga duha ang iyahang ruling party, party na siya sa HNP, at the same time na siya sa lakas ng lakas si MD. Noon niya kay wala man day gikuan silang bylaws nga pwede ra man din mag-hold kag duha ka kuan kanang party. So again, it is very important for them to state on the bylaws and platform nga ilahang ginahimo ug unsa ila na register dito sa COMELEC. So for their activity, Teacher May, no, the direction is to analyze the statement below and about the nature of elections and political parties in the Philippines. Write T if the statement is true, and write F if the statement is false, and write your answers in the given space before each number. So it's very
Mag-analyze
simple.
din sila, sir.
True or false now. So let's say for instance, will you please read number 1, Teacher May?
Okay, number 1. Special election is done when the position is vacant due to death, incapacitated, or is recalled. Is it
Yeah.
true or false?
Yes, it's very true.
Yes.
No? So mahimo lang ang election, no, special election kung ang usa ka posisyon na bakante tungod kay namatay, tungod kay recall, or dili na siya maka-perform sa iyahang duty. And another activity, Teacher May?
So they will give the important concepts of the following images that they would see in their SLMs in relation to the nature of election and political parties in the Philippines. So they will write their answer on the right side of the box. the
Yes, and they
important
will
concepts.
simply refer to the images that has been
Illustrated.
illustrated in the SLM.
Yes.
So, of course, Teacher May, no, na human na nga to ang discussion sa itong duha ka subject para sa ato ang senior high school. And of course, naadara karon makita sa ibabang bahin sa ilahang mga screen ang ato ang attendance marker, atong
Yes.
first
Senior
attendance
high school
marker, no?
attendance marker, yes.
So, ang atong pagpasalamat ngadto sa division sa Tangub, and of course sa atong executive producer, our RBI master no less than Sir
Sir
Gas
Gas
Sepi,
Sepe.
and of course to the production team headed by Sir Alden Antonio, Sir Lay Inayo, and of course the technical boys, no, Sir Chris Abedra, Sir Norbel Holyo, Sir Jade Mark Abapo, Sir Wim Bagaboyboy, and of course to our dear learners, no,
Yes.
nga
Thank you so much,
kada
learners.
adlaw gyud nagtutok sa ato ang FB Live.
Yes.
So again, this has been your teacher R from Lorenzo Tan National High School.
And this has been Teacher May from Malora Integrated School.
This is Astral Academy Cyber School.